right, what do you think of Jimmy? Here we are. We're back again as I have to adjust something, so keep it hanging.
I think I didn't have to sing the theme song this week. That's a start.
Well, we're getting there as
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't have my crap together. Hold on 1 second.
Not the lever. He's gonna pull the lever, folks.
All right, here we go.
Young Frankenstein reference there for you.
Young Frankenstein, loving it. So, Jimmy, welcome. It's Thursday night. We're still at home. Uh, Studio will be ready in about 2 more weeks, and then we'll be going out of there.
All right.
How you doing, buddy? We had a really
Good.
nice, Jimmy. I don't get to talk to you enough, but we had a really nice talk before we came on there.
Yeah, not bad. How am I doing? It's been raining, and I think it stopped finally this morning.
Some of our best talks are when we're just rapping, and I
Yeah.
was complaining to everybody out there. And by the way, quick roll call: Fox, Jason,
What
the
up? What
first
up?
lady in the house,
What up?
R.J. Hudson, the great Benny Scalo. Benny, we were just talking about you. Jimmy was saying he hadn't had a chance to talk to you since he's been working, and you guys haven't been doing the baseball bums.
Benny.
Um, Jay Will, the man. So
What is up, one
Jim,
and all?
Jimmy and I were speaking about. I was like, Jimmy, we have our own separate lives on our personal lives, but we were talking about the show, and we were like, man, I really would love to get some more flowers for the hard work that we've put in. And again, we've got the support of the family and everything like that, but it's sometimes frustrating. If you want to share with the fans what you said to me, because I thought it was very intelligent.
Well, I remember telling my partner when we started this years ago, having previously been in the whole rock band scene for decades, you got to get to a point because what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish is really against the odds. It always was. It's probably why my parents went on red alert when I joined the band back in the day. It's a really hard thing to be a creative person and try to make a living doing that. So when we were first getting started, I tried to tell Mike about to keep your expectations and your emotional level as balanced as possible because what you're about to step into is a crapshoot, and the people you're going to come across is a crapshoot. Sometimes they're good, more often than not they're not good. It's really hard to get that payoff, and you have to ask yourself at the end of the day two things, especially at this point in our lives: do I still like what I'm doing? And am I still delivering whatever I'm trying to do on a level that is to my approval?
Mm.
And that's what's kept me going for years and years and years. As I was telling you off air, War Dance was a great band that I was in. My God, Polydor came to us. We didn't go to Polydor Records. They came to us. The guy was like, I haven't seen this since Jim Morrison. Let's talk record contract. When you're that close and it doesn't happen, you can do one of two things. You could shrivel away and hide yourself away, or you can reevaluate the circumstances and the situation. And in my experience, I went as I got older, I got to studio work, and that's when I started working with Bart. And oddly enough, as great as War Dance was, I told Mike off air, the greatest song I've ever taken part in writing is This Life. It is brilliant. I mean, John Lennon would have liked it. That's saying a lot. I'm pretty sure he would have liked it. I know George Martin would have liked it,
Sure.
especially with the string arrangements. He would have loved that. But you know, you gotta stay focused. And I do my best to expect little. Of course, we're human and we get upset. We want to make it, make it. I've seen people who've made it that are not nearly as good as what we're
Jimmy,
doing.
if I can interrupt you though, okay?
Yeah.
Making it okay. So I want to explain this from my thought process. Making it look, we've done a great job, and with the support of the family, look, we were on Dark Side of the Ring. We've had some great shows. We've had this great family that joins us every Thursday. I don't know if it's necessarily making it. I think what I really just want is the respect of the industry at this point.
Hmm.
That's what I want. I want the
Well,
respect of the industry. And I feel like sometimes we're this close and then sometimes we're not. And I don't know if it's the type of programming we do. I don't know if, I just don't feel like we're respected enough in the industry. And dude, you know how I feel about you on a personal basis. Forget our friendship, right? As talent goes, the respect I have for you on the
yeah,
talent.
yeah. Thank you.
and it just bothers me at some points. That's all.
Well,
That's all.
you know what? At least this is just my personal experience from what I saw at the gathering. I'm not worried about respect. The people who don't like us, and I thought I got plenty of respect at the gathering, and in return, I gave plenty of respect. But I'm not worried about those who don't like us. We are not for everyone. And you know something? Just like being in a band, if you're in a great thrash metal is not for everyone. Some people are going to call that stuff garbage. That's the way it goes. So I
Right.
don't lose lose sleep over whether we've been respected or not. I feel like if you like us, you'll respect it because you like us. There's things that you gravitate towards that we do. As far as other people go, if you're not into us, change the channel. I don't give a shit. That's what I do if I'm not into something. It's that
All right. Well,
simple.
dude,
You
I
know?
think tonight with the two shows we're doing tonight are excellent. We're doing the 10 greatest factions. Obviously, I put the list together and you rip it
Yeah.
apart and shred it, and then
Something
we
like that.
discuss it. And
Yeah.
after that, we've got a show on leadership, and
Hmm.
we're gonna evaluate the present leadership of the WWE, which we can truly say is Cody Rhodes, right?
Right. Right.
And who I think many of us feel is the true leader of the WWE, which is the GOAT of all
Or
time,
or
who's
has
right
been at the
behind me,
very
right?
least. Or
Right,
has been. Right.
exactly. But
Roman. Right.
very interesting
Hmm.
stuff. But
Yeah.
let's
I
start
think
with
so.
this
I think it's
Monday
great.
night, the
Yeah.
debate. I have
Mhm.
not spoken to you about this at
No.
all.
No, you haven't. Right.
Let's break it down together, man, because I've got my feelings about it too. What are you thinking?
What I'm thinking is, and I got a chance to get to the bullet points of it all, not to use the word bullet points, considering President Trump actually almost lost his life recently due to a bullet. I found that when it comes to it's not about the issues anymore. And that I find that very sad. All right. Because we're not being sold by the media anything about issues. It's a popularity contest. Who's a good guy and who's a bad guy? And that's garbage to me because as far as key important issues that matter to me, uh, he slaughtered her. She doesn't have any bullet points. She has nothing. She doesn't give me anything I can grab. So spell it out for me. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I saw a grid today that everything is up over the last 4 years. I want to be able to afford to eat. Okay. I don't want to be like, strung out to dry. And there's no answers coming from her. I find it hilarious that, and I don't know how the network got away with this. I guess they write their own rules. The very thing they probably try to say Trump does. Having the interview panel, did or did not one of those two was part of the same sorority as Kamala? What's going on here? Is that true? I mean, I heard that was like when you have a setup from the interviewers on a setup network, and to Don's credit, he didn't turn it down. They would have turned it down if it was the other way around. I'm not going on that. It's going to be a witch hunt. Blah blah blah. But to his credit, as usual, like someone who stands up after they've been shot in the ear, and puts their fist in the air, he went and did it. I give him credit. As far as the issues go, he continued to say what I want to hear. Bottom line, because I'm judging them on issues. I don't give a crap about their personalities. I don't know either one of them. You know, I have no reason to just side with one side over the other. It's what they're talking about that's important, that matters. And basic American cost of living has gone through the fucking roof. Period. Stop smiling in my face and stealing from my wallet. I don't buy a thing you're saying. And what's with the earpiece? Somebody's piping into her. I thought that's the very thing that liberal type people hated about Vince McMahon and Michael Cole. Somebody shouting in her ear
Couple
what
of
to
things.
say.
Jason Morning shouted in that he first discovered us was during one of your rants, and by that point he was hooked. Marie
Oh,
Dave said
thank you,
started watching Monte and the Pharaoh and have been into the podcast ever since. So
buddy.
Jimmy, I'm going to give you my evaluation here. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm a Trump guy. We all know
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm a hard right Republican.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I felt Donald Trump. Okay, so first I'm going to explain my thoughts. We're losing this race. Okay, when the Democrats moved Biden out of the window and brought in Kamala, it started to swing.
Says who?
I
Says the media.
well,
Says the media that you probably read the next day. Mike, I'll give you more than enough time to
hold.
continue on that. But as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
they've been selling that from the moment that Kamala was placed in. Suddenly, Kamala's miraculously ahead.
Here,
Donald
here,
Trump had just been shot.
here is the thing, though, Jimmy.
Yeah.
if you believe in certain kind of conspiracy theories, for example, people feel that the last election was stolen from Donald Trump. Okay,
Okay.
feel
Okay.
whether it's true or not, who knows? You and my, we're so far down on the radar, and
Yes.
everybody else is so far.
Yes.
We can evaluate and think. But here was my point: Donald Trump has to change the script. All he had to do for that debate, Jimmy, hear me out on this, was
Yeah.
talk about immigration,
Right.
talk about what Kamala hasn't done in 4 years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that is all.
Right.
He kept going down the rabbit hole, and
Right.
she was making him look like an angry old man, in my opinion. And I kept on saying, stick to what the people of America want to hear: immigration, inflation, and basically, you and your president have not done a single thing in the
Right.
last 4 years. Leave it at that. Just keep pounding that home.
I
But he
agree.
starts going into cats. He starts going into this. And is she an Indian? Is she this? And it just made him look angry. Do I think she won the debate? No. But do I think he won the debate? No. But what I do think, Jimmy, is he lost ground from that debate because he looked like an unhinged old man. And I think he has to flip. Listen, the reason I say this is I want Donald Trump as my president,
Right.
but I'm watching it unravel in front of my eyes. And I'm like, please, someone get this. And another thing, Jimmy, I'm sorry. I know you said what you said. I felt he was unprepared for that debate. He did not have any, he just had his regular rhetoric, and he just kept spitting it out and spitting it out. He's got to change.
Well, I can see why you would want a more perfected performance from him, but as far as his rhetoric goes, his rhetoric has stayed consistent. His rhetoric is clearly much more clearly spelled out than her rhetoric. I still don't know what she stands for, other than that she represents the
No,
last
no,
four
you're
years,
100%
which
right.
is
There's
total
nothing
shit.
there's
You
but I
know?
get it. I get
Yeah.
it. And just stick to that. Just
Right.
keep pounding it home to the
Right.
American people, have it
Right.
engraved in their heads that you
Right.
have done nothing. I mean, I
Right.
think the best point he brought up is she wants to do all this stuff, but she knows that it's never going to happen because Congress is never going to pass it. That was a
Right.
clear, concise point. It was like, boom,
Right.
boom, shakalaka, mic drop.
Right.
Don't get
Right.
involved in that other crap, man.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I agree. Well, I feel like if he had done a lot less tweeting during his presidency, he would have had a much better chance.
well,
I
I
think
think
sometimes less said is better said.
at this point, I agree with you 100%.
Right.
I'm in fear right now. I'm in fear what can possibly
Dude,
happen to this
it's a
country.
little too late for fear because honestly, I've been in fear for years with the rhetoric of the media. This goes way back. Listen, Donald Trump is very divisive, obviously, but so is the
Mhm.
Democratic Party. And I hate the fact that, he's asked questions like, you're known for dividing races. Wait a second. What? The Democrats haven't divided people on that side? Let me tell you something. The moment that Obama made his statements on Israel, he lost me immediately. He
Mm,
divided me. He's not a divider. How Obama treated the police was not being a divider? Yeah, he's a divider. I hate the fact that nobody points out that Kamala's party are dividers too. And when they go to Trump, they make it out like he's responsible for all this division in the country. Bullshit, he's responsible. What's responsible is the ideologies of the Republican Party are different than the Democratic Party, but both are responsible for the division. It's a joke to me that Donald has to take all that heat. It reminds me of, it's much less, but it reminds me that A-Rod is the face of steroids. What, David Ortiz isn't?
right.
David Ortiz took roids. He's on the fucking list. He's on the fucking list, but he's always loved. Oh, we love David Ortiz. Oh, he can do no wrong. And here comes Alex Trump Rodriguez. Oh, that fucking guy. Blah, 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 blah. Fucking nonsense, dude. The media is so fucking trying to control everything, and it's so fucking obvious. I could not believe the balls of the media the day that Kamala was fucking nominated. The next day, she's ahead. What do you mean she's ahead? What kind of reliable polls did you do in this country within 24 hours
So
to tell me that a
let me ask you
freshly
something.
shot Donald Trump is now behind her?
Let me ask you something. The
Bullshit.
newspapers, the dirt sheets,
Yeah.
all this stuff. If they say it enough, you begin to believe
That's
it, and it becomes real. And
so. This
that's
is
the problem.
okay. So I'll tell you what else has been the problem too. Guys like me have finally fucking woken up. All right. And here comes a fucking confession for everybody, for you, Mike. All my life, you know what kind of life I've led. You know I've always been a rebel. You know I've always been in rock bands. You know all that shit. But somewhere along the way, it all started to matter more to me. I finally, and I had problems in New York. I don't know why, but when I tried to fucking register to vote years back in New York, I was cock blocked in every direction because I was trying to I feel because I was trying to register as a Republican. I wanted to vote for Trump in 2016, and I got cock blocked. The only one who could back me on this story is Bart because we were trying to get me registered and they just kept, "Why do you want to register now after all these years?" I'm like, because I finally give a fuck to the point
Right.
that it means enough to me. I've watched this damn country. Look, we both saw 9/11 with our own two eyes. I was watching from a fucking rooftop, okay? It took a while for me to fucking finally come around, but the more I realized it, with all my raging over the years and all my metal and all my drugs, Ronald Reagan was a damn good president. Wait a minute, And then I
Yeah.
started thinking about shit about how the country used to be before 9/11 and all the apologies we've been giving ever since 9/11, which we should not be giving, because we've totally lost our fucking way. I'm asking everybody who gives a shit about what's truly right, our nation's borders, our fucking national security, our ability to eat, our ability to pay bills, and our ability to give a shit about each other again, do what I did. I got to Florida, I registered, and I'm going to vote.
You know
Okay?
what,
So that's what you
Jimmy?
got to do.
Jimmy, I love it giving a public service announcement. I'm even going to add on to that public service announcement.
What the
If
hell
the
is that?
election turns out what I believe it's going to turn out, I'm going to say we're all going to be in a lot of trouble. We won't be able to eat, like Jimmy said. We may not be able to live. So I'm going to give a public service announcement out of it. If anyone doesn't know it, there's something called Good to Go. It's an app on your phone. If you click and you download that app, I don't know if anybody uses it right now. You've got pizza places, delis, things like that, right? Their food is, you know, throughout the day instead of throwing it out. If you go on this app, Jimmy, for $4.99 or $5.99, they give you like a surprise bag, and you could go to a pizza place. And for $5.99, Jimmy, I've gone in there. They've given me 6 slices of specialty pizza, not regular, specialty. Today, I used $4.99 at a deli, and they close at a certain time, right? So I used $4.99 at a deli, Jimmy. You want to know what I got? Take a guess.
I can't. I'm mad that you brought up pizza. I can't find any pizza out here. Fuck you.
30 bagels, a
30.
bowl of broccoli soup,
Can't find bagels out here either.
and 2 Danishes.
You
$4.99.
better take some time to eat all of that, Mike. You got to keep yourself.
My point is, guys, that's an opportunity. It's like, hey, you need lunch for work. All you have to do is wait, go on this app, buy a bag, $4.99, $5.99. It's within your zip code. Whoever's participating, you go pick up your bag. You got lunch and dinner for the next day.
Nice.
Listen, if you buy 5 specialty pizzas, Jimmy, 5, it's going to cost you somewhere $15. You can get 6 slices for $3.99 on this app.
That's
Just saying.
That's the
Just
steal.
saying. I want you to download that app, Jimmy. Good to go.
If I do it now, I'll have to get off the air, so I'll wait till I'm done.
Do it afterwards, and do it with 5 mile radius, dude. You pick up lunch for $3, dude. It's money. All right, man. Little wrestler talk. We had All Out, the violent Bryan Danielson, John Moxley angle, and Swerve Strickland and Hangman. You saw that with the needle and the bag.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the wrestling violence, my friend?
I don't care. That's what they want to do.
Wait a minute. That's what you're going to leave. Dude, they're trying to. I know it's make-believe wrestling. They're trying to commit murder at a pay-per-view.
Do I think that that's absolutely stupid, what you're showing me on the screen? Yeah, I think that that's absolutely stupid. But growing up having ECW as my favorite company, you asked me about the violence level. This is dumb. They shouldn't be doing that. Obviously, that's fucking dumb. But as far as the violence goes, I'm not crying a river. If they want to get as violent as they want, that's fine. But murder? No, I'll pass on that. I'm with you.
When I saw it, I said, this is just, like you said, dumb. But now you're using needles and bags and all this other come on, man. Well, I mean, it's no longer wrestling anymore. You're literally committing murder. Like okay. I know it's make-believe. You're committing murder. You're doing a movie about trying to commit murder at a wrestling match.
Right.
You're burning down people's houses.
Right.
It's stupid. It's
Right.
now gone beyond stupidity.
I find what are the AEW marks saying about it? Are they all for it? Have you heard anybody defending it?
Um, I actually have heard mixed reviews, man. To be honest with you,
Right.
I don't think at any point that anyone is in love with it. I
Right.
think it like you said, it's just stupid. Also, Mercedes Monet, one of my favorites,
Ugh.
was asked what she thought about the violence in AEW. And she said, let's face it, wrestling's a multi-generational. When I do signings, I greet so many parents and their children. Growing up, I didn't have a father, so especially warms my heart to meet families and hear how much their wrestling and viewing experience mean to them. Then
Yeah.
again, there's an audience that loves the extreme, and you want to cater to them too. Thoughts on that comment?
Well, the only thing extreme in that comment is the fact that she charges those parents and children a fortune just to talk to her for 5 seconds.
Dude, fucking love that comment. That
How
is the
about that?
best comment of the night. We need to tag that comment.
How about that? You
That
know,
is extreme. That is extreme.
I didn't have a father growing up. That'll be $500.
I'll go back to when we went on our rant about AJ Lee, right? $999 for an autograph can't be personalized and a picture coming from AJ Lee, who
Right.
grew up in a motel room.
Right.
And if it wasn't for
I guess.
like normal people, right?
Right.
There's no guessing. She grew up in a motel room.
Did she?
Right?
Okay.
Normal people. If Lita would have charged $999, where would AJ be Lee? She wouldn't be married to CM Punk. She wouldn't be rich. So give it a break.
Right.
Seriously.
I agree. I agree.
The only thing extreme is the autographs that she
Yeah.
charges.
Yeah. Well, that's the truth. You know. And again, as far as violence goes, come on, guys. You should know the line. Listen, the burning down of a house, the sticking, suffocating people live on television. Going back to when Triple H jumped into the casket dressed as Kane with a dead body. There's things you just should know are dumb. Don't do them. It's that simple. You think it would be common sense?
Well,
Honestly,
speaking of the debate, that's what I meant to say. I felt like I was watching a wrestling
you
like
were.
back and forth. It was like
You
he would
were.
say something, she would laugh.
But that's
It
what
was
this
like
is.
it was wrestling. It was like, what
That's
are we
what this.
doing here?
That's what this has become. The whole thing's a show. It's all a show. I don't believe anything I see anymore. Tell you the truth, half of it,
Yeah.
at least half of it, I don't believe anymore. It's all nonsense. It's a show.
Let me ask you something. You know
Yeah.
what, RJ Hudson? I'm gonna put that up top. I'm learning here, buddy. RJ Hudson says
RJ.
next to Katie Vick, next week Katie Vick is all elite. What was worse, the
Yeah.
burning down the house, Katie Vick, or the bag over the head?
Nothing will ever be worse than Katie Vick because
Wow,
you
really?
jumped. No, Katie Vick almost made me stop. All right, this crap that AEW did, I'm already indifferent to AEW, and I think that's a complete joke what they did there, with what you showed me there. But Katie Vick made me almost stop wrestling completely. What are you doing? First of all, the storyline was torture to begin with, and then you're getting into a casket, pretending to have sex with a dead body. How fucking off are you to approve of that, Vince? Because that's Vince. Okay, Vince, as genius as Vince has done things from time to time that have made me want to go, all right, I'm done with this carnival for now. You know, I really came close with the Katie Vick thing. I really did. I came close. I was like, man, you have annoyed me on such a level, but I let it go. You know, I mean, I was like, because they didn't stay with it. They obviously got backlash and they stopped. But it's just you got to know. You got to know when things are that dumb that you just shouldn't do them. Period. You know. Then there's times where I feel like it was an overly sensitive thing and a guy's career got completely ruined. And like, a Muhammad Hassan, who was so great at what he did. He really was. When you look back at his short time as Muhammad, he was really, really good at that. It's not his fault.
So wait a minute. So let me
We
ask you
can't
something.
do that anymore.
Would you
I
think a
mean,
fan would you think a fan that overreacts and thinks it's out of control? Like,
yeah.
okay, so are we being snowflakes by saying this is ridiculous? You're putting a bag over a man's head and trying to kill him?
No, we're not being snowflakes if we really feel that this is definitely stepping over the line. It doesn't make you a snowflake. What makes most people snowflakes is they get angry if their toe gets stubbed.
Right.
This is something that's much deeper than that. This is something like showing an assimilated murder on television. This is pro wrestling. I don't want to watch murders. I
Right.
want to watch brawls. I want to
Yeah.
watch, like the Roman Coliseum minus the real death. I want to see
Well,
that, but I
again,
don't want
we
to,
know we know it's fake wrestling, bro, but we should like there should be some
scripted. You
realism
stop with
to
that
it.
F word. That's a
Well,
terrible
whatever.
thing of
Okay.
you. Go ahead.
Whatever. But
I
the
know.
the
Go
point of
ahead.
the point of the matter is like
Yeah.
at some point you got to stop. Like you're committing murder. I mean, it's
Right.
stupid. I mean,
It
it
is
comes to a
stupid.
point. Someone, I even had problems when Triple H used to bring in a hammer, or they used to
Right.
bring in a bat and hit each other. You're
Right.
hitting someone with a bat. You're gonna
Yeah.
kill someone. It's like,
You're
come
hitting
on, this is
someone with a
dumb.
sledgehammer.
Exactly. It's
You're
stupid.
dead. Oh,
It's
but
dumb.
I cut the end and I hit him in the belly. Oh, okay. So you only exploded his colon and his small intestine. I mean,
Wait,
you
good.
know,
Look what Foxy says.
what's
What
Foxy
about when
got?
Morocco hung Steamboat over the top rope?
Right. Right.
But that wasn't committing murder, though.
No, because it was so. You know what? It is a little different than putting a bag over
Yes,
somebody's
it
head.
is. No, it's
And
not a little
you
different. It's
know,
a lot
it's
different,
it
Jimmy.
is a lot.
It's a
It
lot
is a lot.
different.
It is a lot different. And at no point did I really ever feel even back in the. Oh my God, he's going to die. They got to let him go.
Yeah, right.
I
Exactly.
wasn't thinking that. But I understand. I understand why he would say that. By the way, was it Luce's birthday recently? I think I'm not sure.
I think it might have.
But if
I
it
know.
was, happy
Oh, by the
birthday,
way,
Luce.
let's wish ESO Creative happy birthday, Bruce.
Yes, yes. Got to talk to Brucey earlier today. Bruce is now a.
Phil brings up the point. What about the needle with the gas?
Yeah, it's just there's got to be an in between. Well, let's not forget that Vince McMahon's limo was blown up.
Wait, see that another dumb thing. All right,
Yeah,
or how about this? How about when Macho Man tried to run the belt, put the belt into Steamboat's throat?
right, right,
But they weren't trying to kill him; they were trying to stop him from wrestling ever again.
right,
There's a difference. You put a bag on someone and you try to kill them. It's like, come
right.
on already.
Yeah, no, that's definitely little Tony Soprano-ish. Basically, it's just like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm going to kill you on live TV, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
just,
mean. It's like I'm going to kill you on live TV. You know
stupidest
what they
thing.
should have did?
Yeah,
They should
it
have
really
like
is
blood
stupid.
coming in the bag. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
I could
why
have.
not? Why not? If that'll be right up there with those dumb
Dude, like I don't
bloodbaths.
understand. Like, what are you doing sticking a needle in someone's tongue? Like, what is
Right.
that
It's just
accomplishing?
fucking dumb, dude.
It's
You know what
just
was really? You know what I
stupid.
hate, and I still hate it to this day. Oh my God, it's a bloodbath when the blood comes down. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. What am I
Oh,
watching?
dude,
Slayer?
by the way, for Bruce's birthday, please don't get him weed. All right, please. Just
Don't get
no.
him weed.
In fact, we should do hashtag Bruce stop smoking weed.
Maybe he's smoking the wrong type. He might need an indica or a sativa.
You know what? There's certain people are meant to smoke weed and certain people are not. Like
Well, they've
I'm not
learned
meant
that,
to
Mike,
smoke
not to
weed.
bore you, but they've learned that there's two different types. There's indica and sativa. Indica makes you all brain dead, and sativa makes you all energized.
So what was the first one again?
Indica. Oh,
So,
here we
so that
go.
would be Bruce. That would be Bruce
Here
then,
we
right?
go. I knew I set you up for that one. That's terrible. Oh my God. Oddly enough, I usually don't ask for indica. I want something that'll keep me on my, current plane up.
Oh, dude, I
So,
got to tell a story now, right? So
yeah,
Marty, if anyone doesn't know, Marty Jannetty broke away from Savage on the podcast. He's not happy with it. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this, right? And
right,
Marty needs some help, like learning a few things as far as not that I'm some great producer, but
right,
understanding the analytics and that's type of things I do, right? So Bruce volunteered yesterday because he moved to Texas that he's like, hey, we'll do it together or whatever, because I want to see if I can produce your show tomorrow, or whatever. So we hook up, and I'm trying to get Marty on, and me and Bruce are talking, and all of a sudden Bruce just disappears.
would you please?
Right. And I'm
Probably,
like, okay, he must have had an because we've worked with Bruce before, and
yeah,
more than not, the internet or the sound's fucked
yeah,
up or whatever. Right.
well,
It's almost a regular occurrence at this point.
yeah,
It's funny. He's got all these bells and whistles like, OBX, fucking 10 million camera shots.
right.
And StreamYard does better job than all of that shit. But anyway,
Hey, I learned my phone does a better job than the laptop.
Exactly. So
So,
so anyway, Bruce disappears. So I'm sitting there.
yeah,
I'm sitting there. I'm working too. I'm sitting there. 20 minutes go by. I go, where the fuck is this guy? I call
right.
him. I'm like, hey, where are you? Oh, my computer crashed. I'm like, do you think you could fucking call me? Like, hey man, my
You
computer crashed.
crash.
Is this
Oh my
it's like, what
God.
are you kidding me, man?
Oh
Smokes
boy.
Bruce, no more smoking weed. Okay, that's it. Oh my God. Wait, did someone bring up Missy? I saw Missy's name brought up here. Sorry, what did
Stop
somebody
blaming
say?
the weed. You're always picking on weed.
All
Those 5
right.
bottles of good fucking wine didn't get to you at all.
Let's
Not at
let's
all.
talk about what we're at, okay? And dude,
Yeah.
ready? Here's the list. Rip it apart. Everybody out there, rip it apart. I did the best I
Okay.
could. All
All
right.
right.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Hit it.
Number 10 is the Dangerous Alliance, kicking off at number 10, a faction often overlooked but highly influential. The Dangerous Alliance, led by the notorious Paulie Dangerously, aka Paul Heyman. This group was the early 90s WCW, was stacked with talent like Ricky Rude, stunning Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, and Bobby Eaton. Thoughts? Where does the Dangerous Alliance sit with you, Jimmy Farrow?
Well, if it's the 10 greatest factions of all time, they don't sit in my top 10. I'll, I'll,
Wow,
I'll, I'll start.
really?
Yeah, really. I'll start with that. First of all, let's go back to how we felt about them when we were watching them at the time. That's what I felt. And I think to quote you, you were like, "Who's this idiot with the walkie-talkie?"
That's true.
Okay. Now let's look at it a little further. Did this faction catapult any of them into superstardom or something even bigger? Because no, they did not. No, this faction was just there. Even though on paper it looks lovely, it almost sounds like the Jets roster every year in before the games are played. So I'm going to say no. While it was wonderful to have this collection of people together, no, this was not one of the 10 greatest. Nope. That's how I feel about that. Would you like to know who I might throw in there instead?
Well, I will tell you, if anybody is wondering, the
Yeah.
Heenan family is not on the list.
Right.
Because
Huge
I will
problem.
tell you this about the Heenan family. Wait a
Go
minute, but
ahead.
hold on. They were
Yeah, go
not a
ahead.
faction. It was a
Okay.
family. They did not all wrestle together at the same time.
Right.
Perfect
Okay.
wasn't there with Bundy and Andre. It wasn't like that.
Yeah, but all other
Okay.
factions do split up and have individual matches, et cetera, et
But
cetera.
but with
I don't see the difference.
I stuck to the list of true factions.
Okay. Well, I
Okay.
feel like
All right.
just because it said family behind the Heenan, it didn't mean that it wasn't a faction. That was definitely a faction of sorts. That would be on my list, but there is another one. Do you want me to wait till later? I mean, there's a couple of them that I didn't see
But
yet.
what if they're on this list?
That's true too. All right, so keep going.
All right. So number 9, the Hart Foundation is
Mm.
Canada's greatest export. The Hart Foundation, originally the tag team of Bret Hart and Jim Hart, Neidhart. This faction evolved into a full-blown stable in the mid-90s when Bret brought his family members like Owen, the British Bulldog, and Brian Pillman into the foundation. The
Uh-huh.
foundation, Keeley feuded with Stone Cold Steve Austin, embroidering the anti-American sentiment, being adored in Canada and hated into the U.S.
Okay.
Jimmy, the Hart Foundation.
Okay. Here's another one where I'm not necessarily putting them in my top 10. The reason is,
Wow!
oh, I'll tell
Oh
you.
my God!
I'll tell you why.
All
Because
right, I'm listening.
when I think of the Hart Foundation, I think of Brett and Jim. I don't think of anyone else. It's what the faction is memorable as too. It has to be that their input on the industry, their timing, yada yada yada. Yes, their anti-U.S. rhetoric was fine, but I'd seen that before on much more effective levels coming out of the mouths of Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik. Okay, so to me, I've seen this before. All right, it's cool. It was nice to see Bret Hart being a prick. I think he was great at that. He was great at basically anything he did. But again, when I look at this faction, which has a foundation for a last name, I don't say to myself, "Wow, those guys really all catapulted after that."
Wait a
Bret
minute.
Hart was, you know,
I'm gonna take some anger with you. Listen, dude.
yeah,
There's no team that says faction at the end of it.
No, I
It's not,
understand that.
you know what I mean? So come
I
on.
understand that. No, I understand that.
That
But
was a passive aggressive Jimmy Farrow move there.
well, I'm mad about the Heenan family. So obviously I've
Well,
got a
how
bone
could
to
you be
pick
mad about the Heenan family? They did
because the
not wrestle
Heenan
at the same
family is
time
greater
together.
than the names we're bringing up here. That's
But they
why.
did not wrestle together at the same time.
That don't matter to me. They were definitely a collection, a
Well, that's like
faction.
saying the
You
greatest
want to
factions:
spin?
Greg
You want
Valentine, Ken Patera, and Don Morocco. I mean, the
to?
Grand Wizards faction. Come on, man. You know I'm right on this. If
No,
look,
I don't.
if Stud
I don't think you're right.
Andre, Stud Andre, Rude, and Perfect all wrestled at the same time, I
Right?
would get it. I would understand it, but it wasn't.
They never tagged up with each other in matches. Sure, they did.
Stud and Bundy did, yes.
Right?
Rick Rude,
And Andre and Haku were tag team champions, weren't they?
yeah, but they weren't all wrestling together at the same time. It wasn't a
I don't.
faction.
I don't see it that way. I see them as a faction, but that's me. We could disagree about it. That's fine.
That's fair. That's why we're doing this,
You
dude.
know?
I did this one for you. It
Yeah.
pained me to really do it, but I did it for
Right.
you anyway.
Right.
Number 7, I'm sorry, number 8 is the list dominated by NXT's recent years, the Undisputed Era, led by Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong.
Right.
Created the faction that totally took over NXT for countless of years.
Right.
Thoughts on
That's a tough one.
Era?
That's a tough one.
I know you're a fan of theirs, though.
I am, but I have to keep things, historically in perspective. NXT is not what it was. As great as they were during their time in NXT, they're definitely clearly the best faction ever in NXT, but NXT has not, let me put it this way. It's also the imprint you leave behind when you go somewhere else. Could NXT sell out the Barclays today, Mike? No. NXT during the time of the Undisputed Era was selling out the Barclays for several years. They were fantastic, and they are NXT legends. But unfortunately, NXT has not sustained any of that. To put them on the top 10 all-time list, like I said, there's other names. I mean, we could argue.
Listen, I'm really interested to hear these other names when this list is done.
Well,
because I'm going to be shocked if you could come up with someone. And I'm going to say,
so far you have the Heenan family, but that's a disagreement on who's what.
That's a disagreement between you and me whether they're a true faction or not. So that's the problem there.
So keep in mind, though, so far I've got one that I feel should be there. At the end, these first 3 I'm not sure about, and yes, I do have 2 more. I actually have 3.
Let's see where we're at. Number 7, we've got the Bullet Club, and that would be the New Japan and Ring of Honor Bullet Club.
Right.
With, let me see here. We got AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks.
And Prince Devitt, Finn Balor.
And Prince Devitt, yep.
Who started the whole thing.
Balor started the whole thing.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm very happy that you put them on the list. This is a great call by you. The Bullet Club is one of the 10 greatest factions in the history of this business. Getting back to my original point, what did it propel? Did it propel anybody into greater heights? Are you kidding? Do you realize what the Bullet Club did at the time that they did it? They brought back old school cool, by the way, which was fantastic that they had brought back an old school vibe. We're old school guys. I recognized that out of them. They were renegades. They were great. Prince Devitt launched his career into Finn Balor. AJ Styles, I watched transform from TNA Tushy Boy to AJ Styles. And he did it in New Japan. That's when the beard comes in. That's when the badass comes in.
RJ Hudson says didn't care about him. NWO ripoff. Thoughts on that?
Understood. I could see why you would think that, but it's the propelling of the careers that got kicked off through the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club was very influential in this business. All right, much more so than the Dangerous Alliance, or yes, even the Hart Foundation. Because again, to me, the Hart Foundation's a tag team. It's Brett and Jim, and the Undisputed Era. No. The Bullet Club actually did a dent in this business, whether you're a fan of them, whether you think they're a retread or not. It launched the careers over to come back to America for not just, look at the names on this. It's ridiculous. Omega, Prince Devitt became Finn Balor. There's so many here. AJ Styles, the Young Bucks. I mean, we love them or hate them, and I can't stand them. But to say that they haven't made an imprint over here, they have. And it all came from the Bullet Club. You know,
I no, I
it's
listen. I
the
agree
Bullet
with you.
Club's very important.
A faction
It's
that
there.
carries someone else's career forward too
Yeah,
means a lot,
it
right?
does.
So
It does.
and again, remember something.
It
So
has
then,
to.
here's my challenge. Then,
Okay.
Dangerous Alliance,
Yeah, go
Stunning
ahead.
Steve Austin,
Nope. Was nowhere near becoming the
Rick
Steve Austin.
Rude.
Had to go through ECW to get closer to being the Steve Austin he was going to become. Nope. Nope. Rick Rude,
All
no.
right, listen,
No. Not
we're
at
gonna
all.
see where we are.
Rick Rude was a WWE legend. No, I'm not going with that. No.
Number 6, and this kind of pained me because
Yeah.
for me it would be much lower, but I think I put in a fair spot if we're going to be, like you said, historically correct. It would be the
Right.
fabulous Freebirds of the great Michael P.S. Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, and Buddy Jack Roberts, who had one of probably the premier feuds in the history of pro wrestling in WCCW against the Von Erichs. And
Yep.
let's not forget the Freebirds also transferred over to the Mid-South with the Junkyard Dog,
Yep.
Georgia Championship Wrestling,
Yep.
on and on and on. And the Freebirds, iconic Hall of Fame team. Thoughts on the Freebirds?
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't put them higher. I agree with you. My God, the Freebirds are the reason why there are factions today. The Freebirds are the reason why we have music going down to the ring. Correct?
Correct.
I mean, bottom line is that the Freebirds were everything, and you know how highly I thought of Michael Hayes. Obviously, I've said
Absolutely.
it before.
Yeah.
Okay, what a studly front man. What a David Lee Roth, because that's what Michael Hayes was, man. Ooh boy, he oozed rock and roll. He was
Right.
great. They were
Agreed.
great. And
Agreed.
I if you would put them number one, I would see why you would. All right. Would I put them number one? No, but we're not done with this list yet. But I totally get it. Freebirds way up there. Way up there.
I think if you were to put the Freebirds lower, like myself, it has to do with what they did for the industry. And like you had just said, between
Right.
music, they made a 3-man team cool.
Right.
They did all they were the spark to a lot
Right.
that we saw went on
Right.
later on. So for
Right.
me, the Freebirds would be lower, but again, at Monte The
Right.
Pharaoh, we want to be historical. So
And Mike, real quick, I know we're playing games with words right now, and I'm having my fun doing my jousting with you over the wording of these folks, but I find it interesting. I'm just hammering home why I look at the Heenan family as a faction, because the Von Erichs were a faction, but they were family. They were real family, so nobody looked at them that way.
but
You
they
understand what I'm
wrestled
getting at?
together. They
But do you see my
wrestled
point,
together.
though?
I
You see my
do.
point, though.
Listen, if you would have
Okay.
turned to me and said Andre, Stud, Bundy, Perfect, and Rude, right? Because that was the Heenan family. Haku was not the Heenan family.
Right.
Okay?
And by the way, completely over, not like the Dangerous Alliance, completely
I-
over and at the
I
top of the
understand.
card. I can't
totally-
ignore that. That to me is the big difference.
If the
between them and-
Heenan family wrestled together, they
Right.
would be 2, 1, 3. You could put them anywhere.
I
But
still-
again,
I
it was
still
a
feel like-
manager with a bunch of wrestlers, and
Right.
someone said the
And-
Heenan family.
And very often you'd see that manager with the whole faction, family, whatever you want to call it, right behind them during the interviews.
When did you see Andre Stud, Perfect,
We
Rude?
never had a bunch of them together on promos?
Yeah,
we
you had
did.
you had Bundy and Stud.
Right.
You had Andre and right.
Right.
Andre. When Andre's a bad guy under Heenan, he
You know what?
wrestled.
Bottom line is I guess they're just as stable.
That's
So
thank you.
Why don't we could have gone didn't have to take the long way around.
Well, you know what?
They're
That's
fucking
fine.
stable, like you said earlier. They're just as stable. I look at them as a faction, but I'm me. But
Listen,
you know what? They're stable. So
I got
okay.
you. All right, dude, you're gonna get angry on this one. This one was very tough for me, but I thought I put it in the right place. The Shield, number 5. Coming in at number 5, The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose debuted in the WWE as the menacing of justice, tearing through the roster and delivering some of the most brutal coordinated attacks in history.
Yeah.
The Shield also has made the GOAT in WWE. It also has made the best AEW wrestler, and Seth Rollins, Tyler Black is maybe the best wrestler in wrestling now.
Best worker in the biggest company in the world. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
He's the Shawn Michaels in that locker room. I mean, thank God he doesn't act like Shawn Michaels, but he is. I would have put the Freebirds above them, but they deserve to be on this list. Again, it's not just the fact that they were the biggest faction of their time period for the biggest company in the world, and they were fucking great. They were great. It also launched the careers of these three guys, and these three guys are probably the three biggest stars. You know,
Is the Shield your favorite faction of all time?
no,
Wow.
no, I don't think so. Let me see what is still on
So
this
I
list.
will I will say this. Okay, I want to tell everybody because
It's close.
I'm gonna give some spoilers. The Wyatts were not on this list, and I'll tell you why I left them off the list.
Okay.
They weren't around long enough. They were together really for a cup of coffee when you think about it. And that was the only reason. Trust me, I loved the Wyatts, but they were around for a cup of coffee. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, it's debatable whether they should be on this list because part of me feels like they should. Uh, you have to look at what the Wyatt family launched. What it really launched was the career of Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is not to be taken lightly. Unfortunately, not to jump on your comment, but he was not only around in life for a cup of coffee, ironically enough, which is really sad. Bray Wyatt did a lot of things in this business and definitely was a superstar. The Wyatt program with the Shield is one of the greatest wars ever. It doesn't matter if it didn't last 25 years. It probably would have come back around to it, but circumstances never allowed that to happen. Uh, I could see the Wyatt family being in the top 10, but I could also see them not being in the top 10. The Shield absolutely deserves to be in the top 10. That's all there is to it.
All right, man. Number 4.
Yeah.
The New World Order, the NWO, the group that arguably started the wrestling boom in the late 90s. The NWO was formed by Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and ushered a new era of wrestling. Their black and white colors became iconic, and their reign of terror over WCW for years helped the company dominate the Monday Night Wars. This one's a no-brainer, Jimmy.
Yeah. This is my favorite faction of all time. This changed everything. Without the NWO, there is no Monday Night Wars. There is no. More importantly, you got to ask yourself, well, Jimmy, be consistent. What careers did the NWO launch? I'll tell you what careers the NWO launched. They launched indirectly or are indirectly responsible for the careers of Mankind, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. These were the answers to counteract what was going on in the NWO, which changed wrestling forever. The idea of Hulk Hogan going bad changed wrestling forever. Okay? The NWO was the most important thing that ever happened in this business because of where we're at today. The direct results of what happened that night that Hogan dropped the leg on Savage and the whole world melted down because Hogan did such a thing. You do remember all the garbage being thrown at him. It was
Absolutely.
unbelievable how he blurred the lines that night, and everybody wanted to know what's coming next. Okay, what came next was a great Monday Night War. That's what came next. Vince McMahon countered, and the rest is history. So the NWO was irreplaceable as far as their place in history. Hogan had done it again. And I know that makes people sick, but that's the truth. Hogan changed wrestling with WrestleMania. Then he changed wrestling when he turned. Each time that Hulk Hogan showed a different face, he changed the entire business. And that's just a fact. So to me, the NWO is the most important historical faction in the history of this business because it changed everything. And that's that.
At number 3, I put the Four Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
The Four Horsemen coming in at number 3, led by Nature Boy Ric Flair, along with talents like Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Ole Anderson, and later on with Lex Luger, Barry Windham, Sid Justice or Sid Vicious, and then obviously Paul Roma at some point, and then
Right,
the unspeakable Chris Benoit.
right, right.
Thoughts on the Four Horsemen ahead of the NWO on my list?
Historically, I wouldn't put them there, but I would put them as the most important faction in the NWA days. I think that this is the greatest faction back in the NWA days, in my opinion. They had everything. They really did.
What was your favorite grouping of the Horsemen?
I liked when Barry was there, but am I
I
just a
did too.
mark for, am I a
No,
mark for Barry? I
no,
know.
no. You know what? When Luger got there, I got to tell you, when we were watching Georgia Championship Wrestling at that point,
Hmm.
The storylines were very good. If you remember, when Ole gets knocked out of the box because he's not showing up to events because he's watching his kid wrestle, and then them tagging Luger, but Luger turns on Wyndham first, and
Right.
then Wyndham, Luger turns good, and he's chasing Flair. Now Wyndham's going to help him, but then Wyndham turns on him and becomes a horseman. I think the ultimate at that point was Wyndham was with Arn, Tully, and Flair.
I agree.
They were at their best at that point.
I couldn't agree more. Barry Windham was just great with whatever he did, and he fit them. And by the way, that music, I never get tired of hearing the Four Horsemen music.
No, never.
By the
But I
way,
will. Yeah, I will tell you that's so funny. When Sid Vicious joined them, I felt like it was like stuffing a foot into a smaller shoe. It was like, what do you
right,
like? He just didn't. Sid Vicious did not look like a
right,
horseman, and I
right,
love Sid Vicious. It wasn't like I didn't love him, right?
right,
He just did not fit.
right. Well, I mean, my favorite faction of all time turned into the Drizzling Shits because eventually I had an NWO shirt on. What's going on here? I don't think. But you guys think I might be a little underweight for this? Oh, don't worry,
By the
brother.
way,
You got a great look,
speaking, when
dude.
you sit there and say that they're your number one, it's really hard to argue because you think about you still see people wearing NWO shirts after all these
Yes.
years, man.
Yes. Hey, listen, and you know what's funny? My favorite member of the NWO wasn't even Hogan. It was Razor. It was Scott Hall. Scott Hall is my
I,
favorite member of the NWO. I fucking adored him. Everything he used to do. Everything about him was great.
dude,
He's going to take a survey,
if
whatever he was
ugh,
doing.
the black and white vignettes.
Oh, those were fantastic. I fucking love them. Look, the NWO, like, I understand that everybody knows how much I love Hulk Hogan, but I'm glad I was along for that ride because I'm a New York Jet fan. I didn't get to watch the root for the Pittsburgh Steelers all those years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, but
Hogan's my Pittsburgh
think about
Steeler.
this though: Four Horsemen, Tully Blanchard slapping Baby Doll.
Yeah.
And think about this. You know what was so cool about the Horsemen back then?
Yeah.
They were bad guys, but then they would feud with like the Russians. And
Right.
all of a sudden they were feuding with the Russians, and Nikita was trying to get. It was like,
Right.
I got to tell you, NWA wrestling at that point was pretty
Well,
effing
how
good,
about
man.
this, too? The Four Horsemen were believable. How about
Oh
that?
yeah, absolutely.
They were believable, and that's what I liked about the Shield. I thought the Shield were believable. Those three guys looked like they'd walk into a club. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. It's like, oh fuck, I'm out of here. Where's the back door?
All
You
right.
know?
At number 2,
Yeah.
DX would be led by Triple H and Shawn Michaels. DX became the most rebellious antics, infamous promos, and in-ring excellence, whether it was the original run with China and Rick Rude and later
Hmm.
iterations of the New Age Outlaws and
Yeah.
X-Pac.
They're great.
Um,
They're great. They deserve to be on this list, obviously. I don't know about that high, but I could see why you put them that high. They're pretty high on the list, I would think, one way or the other. I love DX. I had the Suck It shirt, didn't you?
what was DX? What was your favorite iteration of DX? So without Shawn or with Shawn?
It's funny. I actually have heavier memories without Sean.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
not going to argue with you on that.
without Sean. And I love their presentation. Their music is to die for. Let's face it. And it's weird because I normally don't even like talking over music. You know how I feel about that shit. But I like that song. I thought it was great. It fit them to a T. DX was awesome. DX was imperative to the Monday Night Wars. You take DX out of the equation, I'm not sure everything happens just quite the same way. You had to
Gerard
have
brings up
them.
a good point about the Horsemen. Remember when Woman
We got
joined them?
when who?
When Woman joined the
Oh,
Horsemen, I had
yeah.
forgotten all about that. That was a
Yep.
big deal.
Yep. Woman was always really good at whatever she did, by the way. She always came across. She didn't even have to say much. She didn't have to. It
Mitch
was
brings up a
great.
good point. He's asking about Kevin Sullivan's
Yeah.
faction in Florida.
Well,
Didn't
there's
make my
that
top
too.
10 though, dude. Did not make my top 10.
There's that too. I could see why somebody would
Well,
put that in their
we're at
top
number
10.
1, Jimmy, and then we're going to see where I missed, and let's see what you think. But
Okay.
number 1 really needs no reason, and I think it's hard to argue. Anybody cannot argue this. It's the Bloodline. It has become the
Hmm.
greatest faction of all time. They've
Hmm.
run wrestling and highest pay-per-view grossing,
Yeah.
highest views.
Hmm.
Maybe come on, maybe the greatest storylines, the
There you
love
go.
triangle,
There you
everything.
go. There you go. Right there. Um, The bloodline, it was definitely for the last, look, it's not an accident. For the last 3 years or so, there was this unbelievable storyline. Business wise, you can't really argue with the success of the bloodline during this time. The money's at an all time high, you know. Viewership's at an all-time high as far as it's not just about ratings anymore. It's about how you're selling out, and there's sellout everywhere in the world. The most eyes in the world have witnessed this storyline.
Jimmy, I
That it
got
is,
to interrupt you because I need
yeah,
you to weigh in on this. Mitch
yeah. Go ahead.
Seinfeld says Kevin Sullivan's Florida faction over the Freebirds. I
No
personally
way.
disagree.
No, no way. Not on the impact of the business. Mitch, I understand that you love them, and I can see why they'd be in your top 10. I can see that. But their impact on this business compared to the Freebirds, it's not really debatable. But I understand your love for them, and they should probably be in a top 10. I can see why they would be, but I can't put them in the importance level of the Freebirds.
Back to the
I can't.
bloodline, though. Back to the bloodline.
Yeah, like I said, business wise and storyline wise, they're the tops. Do I think that they're the greatest faction of all time? No, they're not the most important. Everything to me goes back to importance. Okay, so no, they're not. They're not more important to the history of this business than the NWO. I don't think I'd even put them ahead of the Freebirds. But I'm talking about
Wow.
historical impact. It's still tough to judge the historical impact of the bloodline until we're older. We got to look back and see what it is. Now, are they in the top 10? Fuck yeah. Are they in the top five? My personal top five? Probably. I haven't sat here and tried to put these in order as to how I would put them in order. But I'd say they're in the top five. This is
Well,
a
so
great, great faction that has been great for years,
give
not for
me
a couple of
give
weeks.
me where you think I missed on the list.
All right. There is only one that I can really feel very passionate about.
Let me guess, the
And
Heenan family.
no, no, you ball sack. No, no, the Adams family. Festa doesn't get enough love. Unbel-
Good stuff.
oh, Morticia. Unbelievable. All right, there's one faction that I feel deserves to be on this list that isn't, and it's not a mystery. You should know your history. Evolution. Okay, evolution was so important. Think about when evolution came around, okay? You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, as Vince said, taking his ball and going home for the most part. All right. You have to readjust now and build your programming around other things because the wars are over. You've bought the company, you've won. But what is going to sustain you? And what sustained him in the years further, and these things are probably going to annoy some people, but I'm sorry. Triple H was very important and he had to continue his established resume as he was building his own legacy. To be in Evolution, to be with Flair, I love the makeup of this faction because you had Flair, the elder statesman. Who's going to argue with Ric Flair's report card? Back of the baseball card. You can't. So you had the elder statesman with the on top of his game Triple H in the prime of his career, dominating the championship, and then you had the most important thing. What did it propel? Oh, I don't know. How about the careers of those two guys, Randy Orton and Batista, who are both first ballot fucking Hall of Famers? This faction was not only crucial at the time that it appeared, but it launched the careers of two of the greats of this past 20 years between those two, as far as the company history goes. You launched Randy Orton's career through Evolution. You launched Batista's career through the thumbs down moment, Mike. The thumbs down moment in Evolution when they got, what was that, on his shoulders and shit, and they're like, thumbs down. I mean, everything about Evolution was great, and I think that Evolution deserves to be in the top 10. That's my call.
So I love that pick, Jimmy, and I'll go back
Yeah,
to what I said about the Wyatts.
right.
Evolution had a lifespan about a year and a couple of months,
Very
and
important,
that's why
though.
that's absolutely, but that's why I did not put them on the list.
Right,
I always thought about
right.
length of time. The Dangerous Alliance of all the factions that we had on this list
Yeah,
probably had the shortest reign, and that was
right.
almost 4 years.
Well,
These other ones, the Wyatt family, it's not even maybe a year and a half. Evolution,
right.
maybe a year. No,
Well,
a year and a half.
I feel like the the Dangerous Alliance and the Undisputed Era, in comparison to Evolution and the Wyatt family, I don't think that
You
historically they
you know
match
what,
up.
dude? To be honest with you, if you wanted to argue with me like the Undisputed Era should not be on this list, I probably wouldn't argue with you at all. I had
Right.
just thought to myself,
No, but
well, they
good
were
pick.
part of a brand
They
that
were.
they influence people.
They did.
But you know what? If you were to say that Evolution should be on there and not them,
Right.
I wouldn't argue it.
Yeah,
I
well,
would not argue it.
considering the residue that came out of Evolution was, Batista, Batista, and Randy. Oh my God,
Yeah.
no! It's just that, like, the Undisputed Era over Evolution. The Undisputed Era. I mean, the Dangerous Alliance over Evolution. I'm not doing that. But again, they're all good picks. Just like Mitch is, like, yelling about Kevin's faction.
Well,
None of these are bad picks.
who else would you have put in it?
Well, I know I not that I would have put it in, but I noticed that you didn't have the New Day on there. That's definitely a faction. They pulled the Freebirds
It
for how
is.
many years?
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
so I was thinking
Honestly,
about
they
the New
just when I
Day.
was thinking about that, dude, I was like, I didn't even remember them. Like, that's
Yeah,
how obsolete they are to me, I
right,
guess. You know what I mean?
right. I mean, honestly, I'd rather have the Dangerous Alliance on it than the New Day, but that's me. Maybe because I just hate the New Day. I don't know.
No, it's good.
Kevin's
It's a good.
faction over the New Day
Dude, I
is
got to be
good.
honest with you. I
You know,
almost thought about putting Demolition in there, to be honest with you.
right? Yeah, I wouldn't. It was good not to do that.
Yeah, I could not come up with a reason in my head that they should be on this list,
Right,
even though I would want to, even though Bill Eadie was just on the show. You know what I mean?
right. And he was great. Yep, I got you.
Well, that's about it. We're going to go to the next show at 9 o'clock. Take a little
All
beer
right.
break, everybody. Want to
Yes,
thank
sir.
everybody for joining us. Great conversation, Jimmy. Great talk
Yeah.
about. We'll probably continue some Trump, Kamala talk.
Kamala
Not a,
Chameleon.
well, my wife yells at me to wear because I call her Kamala, and she doesn't like that.
Do you
Right?
rub your belly when
Disrespectful.
do you pat your belly when you do it?
No, but I do put a moon on my stomach.
Oh, okay. You're halfway home. Now you got to pat that moon.
I know.
So all you got to do is pat that moon. You probably won't get paid as much as Hogan, but you could pat that moon.
Dude, I gotta tell you, like every morning I get a text from some guy on Facebook. He's hitting on me every morning. Every morning. I don't know why I just don't disconnect, but it's like almost like a ritual at this point.
Well, you're not finding this stimulating, are you? What are you
No,
getting
it's
at?
no, it's not
Well, then
stimulating.
why would you every day want to open up your Facebook and be like your boobs are mint? Coming
He's
from
like he's
Tom.
always talking about like he's making me breakfast and he sends pictures like pancakes and
Great.
eggs.
That's very settling,
And then he
Mike.
wants
That's
to
very
rub
settling.
and he wants to rub my belly.
He wants to rub your belly. Have you found out where he lives? He's not in New York.
No, dude, I don't go that deep. I just look and I go, thank you.
Well, if you're sending me shit and you're a guy and you want to rub my belly, I'm going to find out where you live. I don't know what you're doing. That's very strange.
Oh, good
Mike.
stuff. All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. Hopefully you
Really?
join us on the main show at 9 o'clock, where we talk about true leadership, where we're going to probably be comparing the GOAT, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes, and a couple other more subjects we've got to cover, right?
Yeah. I'm suing you. You took the name of your gimmick off my song.
What?
You don't know about that? The Cody Rhodes thing?
No. I think, yeah, I think I heard that. What happened there?
I don't know. They've somehow come to the conclusion, because their song is called The American Nightmare, that's how he came up with the whole. I guess they forgot his father was the American Dream, and he was doing a negative.
By the way, that is such a great song, man.
It is.
It is a really great song.
Wait a minute. The only part that's great is when everybody goes, "Whoa!" And it's like it's not a great song.
You know what, Jimmy? I'm going to argue with you about that, because I can remember watching was it WrestleMania when he came out. And you know what the problem with that too? When in the beginning, they got to fix it after all these years now, where he goes, "There's more than one family." You can't hear what he's saying. It's fix that.
So
make it louder.
You really like adrenaline? Lost control. Boom! Whoa! Really?
Yeah, there you go.
That's all it takes, huh?
That's all it takes.
Whatever happened to ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? Now we have these intros where we all get to go, whoa!
Well, I think we did.
great.
I think we did an episode on greatest theme songs, but and was DX our favorite? I think DX was. Wait a minute. You know what was my favorite? I put there was the Raw is War intro.
The Raw is War.
The original
intro.
Raw is War intro. You've got your good, this generation. Da, da, da. You know what I'm talking about?
If they refuse to see the
Yeah, yeah,
change in
yeah,
me,
yes.
why won't they wake up?
Wake up, wake up. That
I
dude,
remember that.
you
Yeah,
get
I
it
remember
on.
that.
Brew to
Yeah,
the music. I used to love that
that
fucking
was
song.
cool. That was
That was
cool. Yeah,
badass. Dude,
yeah.
wrestling was so good back then, and now we get bags and needles. I mean, come
Right.
on, man.
Yeah. I mean, no wonder I got chills when Bret Hart's music came on because Bret Hart's music is great.
Oh, by the way, since you brought that up, to be
Yeah.
respectful,
Oh,
the
don't,
Jet game was on Monday, right? So it's
don't.
we're not getting into the Jets. I'm not daring doing it. But
Okay.
Bret Hart's coming on. I'm like, oh, I gotta watch Bret Hart. I gotta get off the Jet game, and that means a lot, right? I'm turning off the Jet game because that's how important Bret Hart is, dude. Respectfully, the guy looked like he was barely alive.
Here we go.
But I will say this: kudos to the WWE. If everybody noticed when he was going up the stairs, they
Mm-hmm.
pulled the camera away. They did not
Right.
embarrass him.
Right. Right.
I mean, look, dude, it's tough getting old. We're all getting old.
I
It's
gotta
just
be.
hard to see Bret Hart walking at a camera with his eyes glazed over like there's no one home. It's like, oh boy.
Uh, Meanwhile, sadly enough, I thought he looked okay. I've seen him look much worse. I
What do
mean,
you mean in
sadly
the
enough.
picture he took with us where he looked like he had wanted to be anywhere but with us?
Yeah, but to his credit, at least he talked to us. He was not. He
But
was
do you
not.
remember that picture? I still have
Yeah.
that picture. It's like,
Yeah.
really? Could you smile? Could you do something?
No. When was the last time you saw me smile? It hurts the jaw. Bret Hart's not into smiling. What's wrong
Dude,
with you?
dude, come on. Come on.
I thought he looked okay, all things considered. Like I said, I've seen him look a lot worse than that. I
Well, listen,
mean,
respectfully, the guy had a stroke.
did you see his match with Vince?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen him look worse than that, dude. I mean, he was.
It's a good point.
He
It's a good
looked.
point.
He
It's a good
looked
point.
okay. I was like, you look okay, Brett. You know, I think.
How
I thought
about how about when Gunther says to him,
that's
"My
great.
favorite wrestler is Goldberg"? Best fuck. I was popped. I popped. Oops, sorry, Bully Ray. I used the word pop. Don't get mad. Don't get mad, Bully.
number 2 behind my must say my favorite wrestler of all time, Bill Goldberg, and everybody's like, yeah!
It was the best. That was so
That was
good.
great. It
It was
was great.
great.
It was great.
All right, guys. We'll see you at 9 o'clock. Jimmy, send us out.
You've been watching. Is this still This Week in Wrestling? I ask that every week.
Yes, it is. It is this
Okay,
week.
you've been watching This Week in Wrestling, and stay tuned for the mothership to land. We'll see you in a second. Later.